Typickým príkladom mediálneho zúfalstva a nenávisti
A typical example of media suspicion and hatred was the interpretation of the message of French President Macron about our meeting in Paris, when he spoke of a strategic awakening. On the same day, Smeko and Actuality rushed to the news that Slovakia had made a turn, that Slovakia had strategically awakened. Neither one nor the other is true. I do not disclose information from bilateral talks, but I can fully confirm that the conversation with the French president had an exceptionally significant content and concerned the strategic awakening of the European Union. I have not known such a conversation about the Union for a long time. However, I will never give up the concept of Slovak sovereign foreign policy, oriented to all four sides, which brings great effect to Slovakia: investments, violation of visa obligations, respect for Slovakia for its sovereign position. I will never make any turns. At every meeting, regardless of whether it is the Chinese President Xi Jinping, the Russian President Vladimir Putin, the American President Donald Trump, the French President Emmanuel Macron, or anyone else, Slovakia is in the first place and its interests. In this spirit, I was at a meeting with the French President, especially sharp at the address of the European Commission and its proposal to stop any flow of gas from Russia to Europe. I expressed my commitment to dialogue with everyone and confidence that the European Commission needs personal reconstruction. How can I respect the Commissioner of the European Commission for Energy, who 2 days ago announced that he was concerned about the dependence of the European Union on the importation of fossil fuel gas from the United States? The Commissioner has the competence to stop the importation of gas from Russia, a decision against which Slovakia voted sharply and against which it also filed a complaint. I recommend to the Commissioner to read every morning what he did the day before, so that he does not look like a fool. And overall, if I look at his performance, how he complained about us after stopping the transit of Russian gas from Ukraine, how he does nothing with high prices of energy, it would probably be more useful if we put a plush bear in his chair. The same applies to the so-called Foreign Minister Kaja Kalasova, who does not talk to any of the deciding players. And let's not forget that the fish will swim away from the head, and replacing the position of the President of the European Commission would be the most profitable for everyone. I am glad that this is what the MPs of the European Parliament for the direction of Slovak social democracy see when voting for the Deputy Chairman of the European Commission. The Slovak government will have a dialogue with everyone who is interested, including Cuba. It does not and will not make any turns in foreign policy, and will not sell its independence and sovereignty based on the consequent maintenance of international law and non-interference in internal affairs to others for any Jewish penny. February will be very challenging again. We are already expecting agreed and announced visits, but there will also be surprises. Personally, I am preparing for the informal summit of the European Council on February 12, where we are to talk about the competitiveness of the European Union, especially about high energy prices. I hope that we will finally move from the empty hammering of straw to the reality.